Hello guys, welcome back to another video, and in today's video we are going through my round 7 AFL tips and predictions. So if you are going to enjoy today's video, please do hit and like the subscribe button, and yeah, let's get straight into the tips. Before anything, let's get straight into the reviews. And yeah, the round 6 was a bad week for two reasons. One, because the Saints lost, not just that they lost by 60, and two, I only got 2 out of 8. Ridiculous score, and I know there were a lot of upsets, but you should need to be getting more than 2 out of 4, and right now I'm in Robbie Axe tipping comp, and I'm not winning it. So, first of all, I went with the Saints by 10, really confident. Quarter time, it was all over. Don't really want to talk much about this game. Aaron Norton, their stars really stepped up. I didn't necessarily think that we played poor, even though we were 60-point losers. I think that we just got outclassed by a good Dogs side, and this is why they're so unreliable, because they can be getting wins like these against good teams, decent teams, but then lose to those bottom side teams. But yeah, great win for the Dogs. Definitely deserved that one. Disappointing for the Saints. This one was the best tip of the week. I went with Essendon, a bit of an upset by 12. They actually won by 3, so I get the point and result. Could say Essendon will probably Adelaide will probably rob with that Sam Draper tackle at the end, but who cares? Adelaide aren't getting robbed twice, so yeah, I get that one correct. Then I got the Port tip wrong. Just thought I'd back in Port, but Collingwood, I think they will win. I think Port will win by I don't know how much at quarter time, 25, and then Collingwood, as we know, they came back, and now they have 3 straight wins on the trot. So yeah, they win by 42. Disappointing from Port. I went with Carlton by 11. This one was the other good tip. They actually won by 19. I thought I was in a bit of danger at three-quarter time. I might only get 1 out of 8, but then they came back, stormed home, and funnily enough, at least I get the correct scoreline for my 2 correct tips. That boosts me up a bit more. It saves me from really falling down a lot. So yeah, my 2 tips were really good ones in a few upsets there. Then we had another upset at the Gabba. I don't think many people would have tipped Geelong here. Brisbane won by, I tipped Brisbane by 14, Geelong won by 26. Good upset there from Geelong after, I think, three-quarter time. I didn't watch this because I was watching this game, Freo. I went with them by 30. I don't think many people would have tipped the Eagles, but the Eagles, just from quarter time, it was probably like the Saints game. They just dominated, and you'd be disappointed if you're a Freo, but geez, something's changed at the Eagles. We'll get into that in a minute, but yeah, Eagles won by 37 in a cracking derby. Nice win there for the Eagles. Great upset win. Went with the Suns by 13. This is the one I probably shouldn't have predicted. Swans outclassed them by 53. Bit disappointed there. Then I thought I would go with North by 5. I just thought that they probably, I don't know if they've been playing the better footy necessarily this year, 'cause I know Hawthorn have been close in a few games, but I just thought that their scoring power might come into advantage. But no, Hawthorn ended up winning by 45. So yeah, only got 2 out of 8. Disappointed, but let's get into the tips for round 7. So we kick off round 7 on a Wednesday night game, the Anzac Eve clash between Melbourne and Richmond. Definitely one to tune into. Melbourne on some really good form right now. They did have a loss to Brisbane a couple of weeks ago. Richmond, on the other hand, so both these teams had a bye. That's why they're playing each other a good time. They only have 1 win for the season. I think I'm going to back in Melbourne to get the job done here. I think this one should be a pretty easy win. Although, Richmond have been playing very competitive in most of their games. Obviously, they did come off that 37-point loss to the Eagles, 39-point loss to the Eagles, sorry. I'm going to go with the D's, though, to win by 20. I think that the D's are probably the better side, but I will expect Richmond to put up a bit more of a fight after that disappointing loss to West Coast. But I think Melbourne should be the stronger side. Just their class around the ball and their back line probably should hold up better than Richmond's. So I'm going to go with Melbourne by 20. Then the Anzac Day clash between Collingwood and Essendon. You just got to tune into this one. Primetime 7, Channel 7 game. This is going to be a cracking one. I really think both teams... Essendon 4-2, Collingwood 3-3. So this is going to be the real test here. I actually think Collingwood will get tested. I'm going to go with the upset. I'm going to go with Essendon. I know don't usually win these Anzac Day ones, but I feel like it's been too long now since they haven't won one. I feel like Collingwood, they have 3 wins in a row. I just think they need to lose again. I'm hoping they'll lose this one because I'm going to back in Essendon here to get the job in a bit of an upset. I'm going to go with the Bombers by 11. It's a bit of an upset, but I'm doing it. I'm going for the risk. I love tipping upsets, and I think this one, Essendon will get a bit of an Anzac Day upset revenge here, and they'll force Collingwood to lose again, and they'll go 3-4 and stop their 3-game win streak. And then we head over to Monica Oval between the Giants and the Lions. We're not even on the Friday night game. I thought they'd left out the Friday night game in this tipping, but they haven't. It's just that there are so many games earlier on in the week. But anyway, Brisbane versus GWS. Brisbane, disappointing loss to Geelong there, 2-4. And Giants, on the other hand, they saw their first loss against a really good Carlton side that just after three-quarter time showed their class, maybe showing that they're the better team this year with all their easy fixtures that the Giants have got. Not easy, but, considering that they did play West Coast, St Kilda, that's a bit of a test. But, yeah, I'm going to predict here, this one's going to be hard. It's at Monica. I'm going to back in the Giants. I think that Thursday night, and it's ridiculous that they only get one Thursday/Friday primetime game. It's ridiculous. Just because they're a small club doesn't mean that. A club like Adelaide, who's getting all these primetime slots, and I understand why they're getting all these primetime slots. Obviously, know what happened last year to them, the robbery, but, Giants are much more deserving, and I don't know why they're not getting enough of these primetime slots. So I'm going to go with the Giants by 9. I think this one should be good. But, yeah. I think the Giants they need to prove something. If Brisbane go 2-5, that could pretty much almost be their season. GWS by 9 there. Then at the Adelaide Oval, we have Port Adelaide taking on my Saints. Now, my Saints, back-to-back losses looking disappointing just against the Bulldogs. We were just outclassed heavily. Port, on the other hand, they also had a disappointing loss to Collingwood. They probably should have won that game, considering their margin of lead. But, yeah, it was disappointing in the end from Port Adelaide. This should be... I actually think that, we will give back a bit of a fight. I've tipped us now 4 weeks in a row. Am I going to continue that just with the performance? If this game was a few weeks ago, coming into this game, I'd actually be tipping us. But I can't recall the last time we have actually bet Port. And considering it's at the Adelaide Oval with how they played in the first quarter against Collingwood too, I just have to back in Port. I know that they were disappointing last week too. But I'm expecting us to put up a bit of fight here. I'm going to tip Port by 18 because so far the results, you look at that win over Fremantle, probably wasn't the best win that they've played all this season. So I'm going to go with Port by 18. I will tip against us. I won't be biased, but I expect us to put up a much more of a fight here. So I'm going to go with Port by 18. Next up, on the Saturday game, we have North taking on the Adelaide Crows. Now, this one is at Blundstone. So, North's first game at Blundstone. The first game at Blundstone for 2024. This could make things interesting. North Melbourne obviously being disappointing against Hawthorn last week. They just got pretty much dominated around the forward line pretty much. And Adelaide, on the other hand, look, they made it interesting against Essendon, a game where they were the favourites, but Essendon, and yes, they could have been robbed, but Essendon probably deserved to win that game with the amount of scoring shots they had. I think that I will back in Adelaide to get the job done here. I think that they're probably the better side, and they'll want to respond quite heavily. It's at Blundstone, so I'll go with the Crows by 23. I think that they should be able to get an easy win here, but I do expect North to put up a bit of a fight. So I'm going to go with the Crows by 23 in that one. Then the MCG, we have Geelong taking on Carlton. This is going to be a really good matchup because Geelong are undefeated and Carlton are only with that one loss to Adelaide, which was disappointing. But Geelong, 6-0. Can they continue their 7-0 run? With that win over Brisbane in wet conditions, yes, it was wet and the Lions probably aren't used to that wet condition, but even though it was wet, Geelong, they just pulled away. Carlton, they had an impressive win. They were probably winners of the week when you consider who they were playing, the GWS Giants, who were undefeated to go 5-0. They came out in that fourth quarter and absolutely killed them, which we know that this blue side has been sort of trying to prove to us that they can get convincing wins against these sides, and actually put sides to the test. So, I'm going to predict. This one's tough. I feel like Geelong need to lose a game. But I'm pretty sure the odds are favouring Geelong. I've tipped quite a few upsets. I'll go with Carlton to see Geelong's first loss, but I'm only going to go by 5. I think that Geelong are going to show up. They're going to be competitive, but I just think that Carlton are probably still the better team. I think that Geelong have proven that if they win this game, they are top 4. Geelong, I would expect them to make top 4. If they do win this game 7-0, you should be making the top 4. Definitely the top 6. So if they win this game, they're top 4. For now, I think they're top 6. I said that they were top 8. They're definitely top 8, top 6, definitely top 4, still don't know. They did have a good test against Brisbane. They have faced a couple good sides this season, but we are still getting a bit of a read on Geelong because they have had a few easy fixtures, but you can only beat who's in front of you. And yeah, they've done that pretty well, but I'm going to go with Carlton. They'll respond here. I'm going to go Carlton to win here and see Geelong's first loss. Then Saturday night prime time, we have Fremantle taking on the Western Bulldogs. Fremantle, the opposite of the Bulldogs. Fremantle really disappointing against West Coast. You know, probably more positive for West Coast than negatives for Fremantle. But you look at those close losses games. Lost to Carlton, which they really should have won against Port Adelaide. Carlton they were robbed, but Port Adelaide they weren't robbed. They made it close. 2 convincing losses. 2 convincing games, and then they come out like that against West Coast to be trailing by 64 at one point. Now that's disappointing. And I know, West Coast have been proven to put on big scores against these sides and give up, but, they didn't give up. They just kept pushing and pushing. And, disappointing for Fremantle after 2 convincing games. The Dogs, on the other hand, really, really good against my Saints. I feel like the Dogs need to win this game. Because if they can win this game, that will see them go 4-3. If they lose this, they'll go 3-4, which just shows their inconsistency down there. Fremantle have been inconsistent too. 3 wins and then 3 losses. I'm going to go with the Dogs here. I think they need to respond. I think Fremantle will see 4 losses in a row. And if they lose this, they could be in danger of missing the 8 after a 3-0 start. I'm going to go with the Dogs here to get a bit of a response, to win by 13 points at Optus Stadium. I just think they'll need to give a bit more of a response. And yeah, I'm going to go with the Dogs here, Luke Beveridge Dogs side, and to get a 13-point win. And yeah, show they are the better side than Freo. Next up on the Sunday, at pretty sure this is at People First Stadium. Superbury doesn't really know, but I do know where this is at. Obviously, I looked at the AFL app. Gold Coast taking on the Eagles. Now, the Eagles, very convincing their last 2 games. There have been wins against some average sides. Richmond, they should have bet with all their outs. But Freo, they're sort of a mid-table side. We're still getting a read on. So that was a very good win. And both of their wins have been over, 30-plus point wins. That's not something my Saints have been able to pull off this year in their wins. Nor some other teams like, some really good sides that are in there like Collingwood and Brisbane, not the most convincing wins. So, yeah, it's funny to think that they have the same amount of wins as my Saints and Brisbane. Even though it is only round 6, they're playing exceptionally well, the Eagles. Harley Reid, 3 goals, absolutely inspiring. Gold Coast, on the other hand, not too bad. Saw a loss against the... who did they lose against? To Sydney. That was a bit of a disappointing game. But this is going to be interesting. But can West Coast 3 win 3 in a row? If they win this, you never know. They could actually make the top 8. They'll go 3-4 if they win this. But you just never know. If they win this by, if they win this comfortably, they could be onto something here. You don't want to be playing the Eagles at this time. But I do think that Gold Coast will break the Eagles' hearts. And they will win. But I do think the Eagles will put up a good fight. I'm going to go with the Suns by 15. I think that the Eagles will play well, and they probably should be avoiding 100-point smashing this season when you consider how well they're playing. But yeah, I'm going to go with Gold Coast. I think that they will just give West Coast a bit of a reality check, and they'll win by 15 points, though. Not overly convincing. Then we end off the round with only the 2 Sunday games again because of all the primetime slots, because it's Anzac round. Sydney taking on Hawthorn, a bit of a rivalry here at the MCG. I think this should be a pretty straightforward tip. Shouldn't be too crazy to tip Sydney. I do think that they will win big here. I do know that it is at the MCG and it is Anzac rounds, and anything could happen, but I'm going to go the Swans with a comfortable 33-point win. I know Hawthorn played pretty good on the weekend, but I do think Sydney do win comfortably, and they are the biggest winners of the round. So, that is going to wrap up this video. If you did enjoy, please do hit the like and subscribe button, and yeah, we'll see you in our next video.